What is going on, everyone? Let's talk about the Aloha state, Hawaii. Hawaii is the 50th state in the Union, and it is our only island state. And before you do, stop typing. Puerto Rico is not a state, it's a territory. Hawaii is also one of 2 states that grow coffee beans. They also eat a whole bunch of spam. And I promise I won't bring up spam. Hawaii is different from most states in a lot of different ways. It's the only state to have a tropical rainforest. It's actually composed of 132 islands. Most of them are uninhabited and they're basically a pile of rocks in the middle of the ocean. It's also the only state that we took from a king or a queen. Sure, we got some of the Southwest states from Mexico, but that was after a war and all that. A little bit different in this situation. There are a ton of reasons to move to Hawaii, but that's not what this list is about, and it's also not about spam. We're looking at the top 10 reasons you shouldn't move to Hawaii. Am I saying Hawaii is a bad place to live? No. I'm just giving you some things you should know about before you move someplace. Some of these things might not be a big deal to you, but to some people they matter. All right, let's take a look. Number 10, the food selection blows. If you live on the mainland, you're used to a big selection of different restaurants, whether it's fast food to sit-down nice dining places. A lot of them are chain restaurants. They don't have a lot of different chain restaurants in Hawaii. I'm going to give you a list of things you're not going to find in the Aloha state right now. That might change in the future, but right now you can't eat there because they're not there. No Chipotle. There is no Chipotle in Hawaii. Now, they have other restaurants that might be similar, but they're usually mom and pop type places. You're not going to find Chipotle there. In-N-Out Burger's not on the islands. Olive Garden, you're going to miss that. They don't have Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme, so if you're a donut lover, forget that. Joe's Crab Shack, Panera Bread, Sonic Drive-Thru, Waffle House, White Castle, no Del Taco. Famous Dave's Barbecue hasn't made its way to Hawaii, either as Boston Market. Is Boston Market still a thing? All the ones that we had in California seem to have closed down. Anyway, no Chick-fil-A or Chick-fil-A, however you want to call it. And no Steak and Shake. I've eaten there before. I'm not a big fan. So if I moved to Hawaii, I really wouldn't be missing Steak and Shake. Number 9. The homeless situation. Hawaii is one of the top states when it comes to homeless per capita. Now, if you count the District of Columbia, which has 90 homeless people for every 10,000 residents, New York has 46.9 for every 10,000, Hawaii has 45.6. So if you count District of Columbia, they come in third. If you don't, they come in second. This has been a problem in Hawaii for a very long time, and they've been doing everything they can to fix the situation. I'm sure if they weren't doing as much as they are, it would be so much worse. It is so bad that the locals have all these conspiracy theories that mainland states are actually sending homeless people. Like California is buying plane tickets for all the homeless and sending them to Hawaii with just one carry-on bag. That's such a thing that when I did a video about Hawaii like 3 years ago, I did a little research on that, and it's been proven wrong so many times. But if you talk to someone from Hawaii, they will tell you they have all the facts and they know it's happening. It's not happening. People in bad financial situations or go there looking for a job, a lot of times end up on the street. And I think that's where the conspiracy theory and the rumor comes from. Number 8, the military. Now, a lot of you just groaned and you think I'm about to slam the military. I'm not. I'm actually ex-military. If you've ever lived on a military post, you know right outside the post, whatever cities surround it, they usually have some negative effects from the military being there. One of the biggest things is community problems. You have so many people moving in and moving out, you never get to know your neighbors. This doesn't sound like a big deal, but it does kind of take its toll on smaller communities, which Hawaii has a ton of. And even though the military has gotten better over the years, they still pollute a lot. And this is a beautiful state with an insane amount of beautiful nature. The military just kind of steps on that type of stuff. And in my personal experience, living outside a military base is not good for another reason. You have a lot of young men that get out of basic training. They've got a whole bunch of ego. They think the world is in their hand, and they get unleashed onto the community. Not like they're out beating people up all the time, but they do a lot of stupid stuff. I know, I was one of them. I did a lot of stupid stuff when I was in the military. And that again tends to drag on the local resources. And before you tell me the MPs take care of all that, they don't. They come pick you up when the local police arrest you. Number 7, the locals don't like you. The locals really don't like people moving to their state. Now, if you're coming for vacation and going to spend a lot of money, they're okay with that as long as you leave right after you spend all your money. They don't want you sticking around, taking their jobs, raising their home prices, and leaving your trash on their beaches. One of the main contributors to Hawaii's economy is tourism. So even though they don't like you and they don't want you there, they kind of put up with you because their job sort of depends on it. Number 6. The dark side of nature. Half the reason people want to move to Hawaii is the nature, like the beautiful sunshine, the tropical forest, the beaches, which I think beaches fall under the category of nature. I mean, they're out in the open. Sure, we all sit on it all the time, so it's really not like you're walking through a forest, but you get what I mean. So there's a dark side of nature. You got the sun, which could give you skin cancer. There's all kinds of bacteria floating around the ocean that they actually put warnings on the beach about. Then you have hurricanes and the possibility of a tsunami every now and then. Those are always fun. Matter of fact, as I write this, the island nation of Tonga just got devastated by a tsunami from a volcano. Once you get past that, you have to remember this is a tropical island, so there is every kind of insect and creepy type thing that'll get on you. Like a flying cockroach, that's always a good time. Nothing like sitting on the toilet after ignoring the sign that says, "Don't swim here." And while you're sitting there, a flying cockroach starts buzzing around the room. This happened to a friend of mine. He said it was really rough and all he had to defend himself with was some air freshener. He said the cockroach survived and he came out smelling like a Bed Bath & Beyond. Number 5, home prices. The housing market in Hawaii is crazy. It's actually the most expensive in the nation if you don't count Washington, D.C. If you add Washington, D.C. onto the state list, they're number 2. But Hawaii is by far the most expensive state. They even beat California. You know you're expensive when Californians look at you as a cheap option. At the end of 2021, the median home price in California was $560,000. Hawaii at the same time was $650,000. I'm not paying that kind of money to be attacked by a flying cockroach while on the toilet. Number 4. The job market. What you make on the typical job in Hawaii is going to be a lot of money if you're living in Mississippi. If you're living in Hawaii, you probably have a second or even a third job just to get by. If you have a degree and you're looking for a better job, this is where it gets sticky. You may be qualified, but there are a ton of other people fighting for that job you're qualified for. Competition for good paying jobs in Hawaii is harsh. Number 3. Taxes. Hawaii is definitely not considered a tax-friendly state. They're actually the 9th most taxed state. The only good thing is their property tax is kind of middle of the road. It's average with the rest of the states, which is good because it's next to impossible to buy a house there already because it's so freaking expensive. If they added some high property tax on top of it, nobody would own a house. They'd all be living in vans down by the river, or the beach in this case. They are ranked 5th when it comes to state income tax, which is never good, and they're middle of the road when it comes to sales tax. You'd think they would raise the sales tax to get all the tourists coming in and cut the people that actually work there a little bit of a break, because I mean the state's expensive, and we'll get into how expensive in just a couple minutes. Number 2, the traffic. If you talk to most Hawaiians, this is one of their biggest complaints, that the traffic is getting worse every single day. How bad? I'm going to tell you. When they rank the cities with the worst traffic, it goes Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, and even though it's not a city, the island of Oahu. Oahu is where most of the people live in Hawaii. If you don't know which one that is, it's the one that has Honolulu and Pearl Harbor. So if you're under the impression that Hawaii is like these Caribbean islands where most people cruise around on little scooters or mopeds, it's nothing like that. The traffic here is bad. Like pound on your steering wheel and yell the F word out your sunroof bad. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. I would really appreciate it if you went over there, subscribed, watched some videos, give some a big thumbs up. All right, on to number 1. And number 1. The cost of living. When I did this list like 4 years ago, cost of living was number 1 then too, and it's still the same. It's just gotten worse. Hawaii has the highest cost of living in the United States. And it's not just their housing, goods and services, and a lot of the cost comes from shipping. They are so far away, like 2,500 miles out in the middle of the ocean, it is hard to get things there. Want to make a spam joke right now, but I'm not going to, because I've matured since the last Hawaii video I did 4 years ago. And we had a Hawaiian girl living with us for like 3 years, and she gave me crap about it every time I mentioned the word spam. Hawaii's cost of living is so high, they have the second highest livable wage in the nation. This is just a way to gauge how much you're going to need if you want to live here and get by. As an example, in Mississippi, you need to make $36,000 a year to get by comfortably, meaning your electricity's not getting shut off a couple times a year. You can make your rent, you can pay for food. Livable wage there is $36,000. In Hawaii, you need to make at least $61,000 a year to get by without any problems. Your medical's paid for, your food, your house, you could buy things, you have a car with car insurance, you gotta make $61,000. And that's not even living good. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. You know, Hawaii's not a bad state. If you could afford it, it's probably a great place to live. Most people can't afford it, and that's the biggest problem. I'm not saying don't move there. I'm just saying these are some things you should know about before you make that decision. But do more research. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.